The volcano Eyjafjallajokull, as I'm told it is pronounced, has been spewing out more toxic pollutants than all human activity since the beginning of time. So says the man who governed Washington state when Mount St. Helens erupted. Is that an accurate statistic? Michio Kaku, professor of theoretical physics at City University in New York, he's the author of the book Physics of the Impossible. He joins the company. Professor, is that an accurate statistic?
It's a little high. However, a typical eruption releases about 100 million tons of sulfur dioxide and hydrofluoric acid into the air. That's equivalent to the entire industrial pollution output of Europe for 1 year. So we're talking about an enormous amount of pollution. And if this volcano sets off Big Brother, that is a neighboring volcano, then we're talking about making Mount St. Helens look like a firecracker.
Really?
This neighboring volcano has 10 times the power of this little volcano that's paralyzing all of Europe right now. 3 times in the past, both volcanoes went off simultaneously, one triggering the other. That's the nightmare scenario.
But is there any way for you physicists to predict something like that?
It's very difficult. We think these 2 volcanoes may be linked. They're 12 miles apart, this little one and Big Brother called Katla. And 3 times in the last 1,000 years, both went off, and the devastation could be beyond imagination. Agriculture in Europe could be paralyzed. There could be mass migrations. There could be starvation. 1/4 of the population of Iceland starved to death in 1783 with another eruption. We haven't seen something like this in modern times.
But you can't predict it. You can say it's on the horizon. It is a possibility.
It's witchcraft. We are monitoring Katla very carefully now to make sure right now nothing's happening. We don't want to set off any panic.
But
nothing's happening.
Okay, you say nothing's happening. I mean, no little tremors, no little puffs of steam, nothing like that.
Little puffs of steam, but not much else. But remember, 3 times in the past, one triggered the other, and this is 10 times bigger than its little brother.
How could that be that there's no way to tell? I mean, this boggles my mind, right? Because it doesn't just happen instantaneously. It's got to, as Stuart's saying, tremor up from the ground, smoke starts coming. I mean,
yeah, I'm a
right?
volcanologist. Right?
But I mean, if that's the case, I worry about Rainier and Mount Loa and
we see the tremors, but we cannot connect the dots. We don't have a CAT scan of a volcano. Volcanoes are deep underground. Some of the magma pools are miles underground. We have no way to X-ray a volcano. That's the problem.
All right, can you tell us when this, I'm going to pronounce it again, Eyjafjallajokull, any idea of when that will stop erupting?
Well, this is a repeat of 1821. We're actually following the script of what happened back then. It lasted 13 months. 13 months of sputtering, off and on, off and on. And that's what it's going to be like, a cat and mouse game. All air controllers are going to track the cloud, shoot airplanes over the cloud, around the cloud, under the cloud. It's going to be like that for weeks.
Could it, I'm sorry, Chris, you go ahead,
I was
please.
going to ask about the toxic ash that you talk about. When this falls to Earth and falls on farmland, I mean, do plants grow back through? Does it become part of the soil again, or is it harder to cultivate?
It becomes part of the soil, but it's hydrofluoric acid. And the fluorine poisons domestic livestock. And in 1783, over half of all livestock perished because of fluorine poisoning, setting off mass famine in Iceland. 1/4 of the population died of starvation. Even Europe was pummeled by the hydrofluoric acid. And Benjamin Franklin was there in Paris actually to witness it. And some people think it helped to set off the French Revolution.
Well, wait.
Wow.
Wow.
There was so much.
Fine revolution.
There was so much hardship on the peasantry for years after the 1783 eruption. Many historians say that this helped to push over the French Revolution.
However, could it not lead to some degree of global cooling? Because you've got this great big cloud, the sun can't get through.
Yes, but it's minor. If you calculate how much sunlight is being reflected back into outer space, you find that it's relatively minor. Mount Pinatubo, which was much bigger, did lower the temperature of the Earth briefly. And from that, we can then estimate what a gigantic explosion might do or what pollution will do. Mount Pinatubo is the gold standard that we use.
What about the other side of this whole thing? We haven't heard the alarmists on the global warming side. I mean, has anyone connected the dots and say that man's activity had something to do with this?
Well, we think that it's not that Mother Nature is taking revenge on us for our human activities. We are encroaching on Mother Nature. There were no transatlantic flights in 1821. There were no human developments all over Europe and a vibrant agriculture.
But whether we
back
didn't
then.
have airplanes or not, would this have still happened at this time?
Well, yeah, these volcanic eruptions take place on a cycle of centuries. So in some sense, we were overdue for another eruption in Iceland.
Doesn't this volcanic eruption put human activity in better perspective? I mean, if one eruption can spew out all these toxic pollutants, equivalent to 1 year's worth of output from Europe, that put human activity in a better perspective, doesn't it?
Well, you begin to realize that Mother Nature has shown who's boss, and we can now calibrate and see 1 year's worth of pollution coming right at us on evening television. So in that sense, we can put it into perspective. But remember, it's an awful lot of pollution, and it is poisonous. It gets into agriculture. It could spark famines, migrations. It's all happened in the past. It's in the history books.
It was a pleasure having you with us, Michio Kaku. That was fascinating stuff, and we're all scared to death. Thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Okay.